I'm Dr. Jura Lasas. I'm a neurobiologist with a PhD and over 15 years of experience in clinical research and drug development. Today, I'll be answering your questions about brain fog during menopause transition. What is menopause brain fog? Let's get into it. Brain fog isn't one symptom, and it isn't a diagnosis. It's the word women reach for when they feel mentally slower, more forgetful, less sharp than they used to. More specifically, you tend to forget names or lose track of why you walked into a room or struggle to find a word you've used 1,000 times. Maybe it's taking longer to finish tasks that used to be automatic. Up to 2/3 of women report these changes during perimenopause. When scientists test brain fog, the cognitive issues that show up most consistently are verbal learning, working memory, attention, and processing speed. That maps exactly onto what women describe: more word-finding trouble, more lapses in holding information, and just feeling slower. Menopause brain fog is hormonal. Estrogen acts directly onto the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, the regions that run memory and attention. Brain imaging shows changes in activity and estrogen receptor density in exactly those areas. But hormones aren't the whole story. Poor sleep and chronic stress make the fog worse. And when sleep improves, the fog often improves with it. One more thing, because I know you are thinking about it. This is not the beginning of dementia. Your brain is remodeling. For most women, it gets better after menopause. What does menopause brain fog actually feel like day to day? So let's be a little bit more practical about this one. You forget a word mid-sentence. You walk into the kitchen with a clear purpose and you have no idea why you're there. You read the same email 3 times and still can't follow it. You blank on a colleague's name you've known for 5 years. The disturbing part isn't any of those moments, it's the gap between who you know you are and how your brain is performing right now. You build your career on being sharp, on being the person in the room who knows her stuff. Now you're writing things down you never had to write down before. And it's not happening in a vacuum. You have a demanding job, most likely teenagers, aging parents, and a household that doesn't run itself. Your plate was already full before your hormones started shifting. Your brain started reorganizing and your sleep stopped doing its job. So yes, you feel exhausted and you do feel like you're barely holding it together. You're not imagining it and you're not failing. Your brain is running a harder workload with less fuel than it used to have. What causes brain fog in menopause? That's a very good question. There isn't one cause. I count 6 mechanisms plus a few things that make all of them worse. Let's get into it. Estrogen isn't a nice to have. It's built into your brain's infrastructure. When estrogen becomes unstable, 6 things start going wrong at once. 1, your neurotransmitters lose estrogen support. 3 of them matter most here: acetylcholine for memory, serotonin for mood, and dopamine for motivation and focus. When all 3 are affected, the cluster of symptoms you recognize as brain fog shows up. 2, progesterone drops and you don't get enough rest. Progesterone gets converted in the brain into allopregnanolone, which activates GABA, your calming system. When progesterone falls, neurons get more excitable, anxiety goes up, and slow-wave sleep is fragmented. Slow-wave sleep is when your hippocampus moves what you learned during the day into long-term storage. Lose that, and you wake up already behind. 3, your brain has an energy problem, what I call brain's fuel crisis. Estrogen helps neurons pull in glucose and turn it into fuel. Without steady estrogen, Memory regions use less glucose and have to fall back on ketones. Glucose is the brain's preferred fuel, so running on a backup source takes more effort for the same mental output. That's the feeling of thinking through mud. 4. Your stress system runs hot. Estrogen helps keep the HPA axis, your cortisol system, in check. With less estrogen, cortisol stays elevated longer. Chronic cortisol wears on the hippocampus, the structure responsible for forming and retrieving memories. What you notice is that memories get harder to encode and harder to pull back up. 5. Neuroinflammation. Estrogen keeps the brain's immune cells, microglia, calm. Without that signal, microglia can become reactive and release inflammatory messengers that interfere with how neurons communicate. 6. The gut-brain axis. The gut microbiome changes during the menopause transition, and gut signaling influences brain function. Whether changes in the microbiome directly drive perimenopausal brain fog is still open question. The mechanism is plausible. The human's evidence isn't there yet. On top of all 6 mechanisms that I just covered, poor sleep, anxiety, depression, and a cognitive load that's already at capacity will amplify every one of them. Which hormones are responsible for perimenopause brain fog? Well, we know estrogen is the main one. Estrogen receptors are all over the brain regions that run memory, attention, and mood. When estrogen becomes unstable, those regions are the first to feel it. Progesterone matters too, though we have less research on it. Progesterone gets converted in the brain into a compound that activates GABA, the system that calms neurons down and lets you sleep deeply. Less progesterone, less deep sleep, more brain fog the next day. Testosterone probably plays a role. We just don't have good human data on how it contributes to perimenopausal brain fog yet. The most important point, brain fog isn't driven only by falling hormone levels. The fluctuation, it's what does the damage. Unpredictable estrogen and progesterone swings during perimenopause are harder on the brain than the lower, steadier levels after menopause, which is why most women report their worst cognitive symptoms in years before the period stop, not after. If you want clear, science-based answers to what's happening in your brain and body, subscribe to more videos like this. Why do I suddenly feel like I can't think straight? Is this actually perimenopause? That's a very, very good question. Feeling like you suddenly can't think straight is one of the most common complaints in perimenopause, but on its own, doesn't prove it's perimenopause. 3 things need to line up. You're in your late 30s or 40s, your periods are changing, and the cognitive symptoms travel with some of the usual companions, such as hot flashes, night sweats, disrupted sleep, rage. Changing estrogen levels during perimenopause can disrupt your brain's function, but the same symptoms can come from somewhere else. Other causes have to be ruled out first. For example, thyroid problems, especially hypothyroidism, iron B12 or vitamin D deficiency, sleep apnea, which is underdiagnosed in women this age. You also need to rule out depression, which can look almost identical from the outside, and also look at chronic stress because your nervous system can't recover from. And the least common reason, but still cannot be ruled out 100%, is early onset dementia. If your cognitive problems are persistent or worsening, you should talk to your doctor. Is perimenopause brain fog the same as early dementia? And how do you tell the difference? Excellent question. How do you tell the difference? Almost every woman I talk to has had the fear of dementia. After forgetting a word in a meeting or blanking on a name, somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice might be asking, "Is this how it starts?" Let me reassure you, it's not. Brain fog and early dementia can feel similar in a single moment. Over time, they behave nothing alike. they are quite different. Brain fog is inconsistent. Some days are clear, some days you feel like you're thinking through cotton. You forget a name and it comes back an hour later. You lose a word and find it in the middle of the next sentence. The brain fog can get worse after a bad night, but it actually can get better after a good one. And you're painfully aware of every lapse you've ever had. That awareness itself is telling. Early dementia looks quite different. The problems are very persistent. They don't fluctuate with sleep or stress. They get worse over months and years. And often, you're not the one who notices the first. The family is. The way you can tell the difference, just think about your phone. If you forget where you put your phone, that's most likely brain fog. If you forget what the phone is for, that's definitely something else. If your symptoms are getting steadily worse or people close to you are worried, please see a doctor. Otherwise, what you're describing is almost certainly your brain reorganizing, not losing itself. Does perimenopause brain fog affect everyone? Let me answer it very directly. No. Brain fog is common but isn't inevitable. Plenty of women don't feel any cognitive changes. Studies show that about 40 to 65% of women report cognitive issues like they're forgetting or they have trouble concentrating, meaning the rest don't. The women most likely to experience it are the ones already dealing with hot flashes, sleep deprivation, anxiety, or depression. High blood pressure or obesity also play a role in addition to hormonal changes. Is perimenopause brain fog worse in high-stress jobs? That's definitely from a woman who has a high-stress job. No one has directly compared brain fog in a high-stress jobs versus low-stress ones during perimenopause. We just don't have very many studies in general. The study doesn't exist yet, but we know what perimenopause is doing. Estrogen is disrupting the brain systems you rely on for memory, attention, and executive function. Now, put that brain into a job that demands fast decisions, back-to-back meetings, no margin for error. Of course, the brain fog feels worse. You're being asked to perform the exact skills your brain is reorganizing. One finding is worth naming here. The Seattle Midlife Women's Health Study looked at what actually drives perceived stress in midlife women. The biggest predictor weren't hot flashes. They were having a demanding job, low mood, and poor health. So basically what it means that your total load matters more than any single symptom, which is the real answer to the question. It's probably not your brain fog objectively worse than in other women. It is that your environment gives you less room to absorb it. A quiet afternoon can hide foggy brain. A 2 p.m. board meeting simply can't. Can I actually recover my sharp thinking, or is this permanent? For most women, no. The brain fog is not permanent. You get your sharp thinking back. Longitudinal studies, these are the ones that follow the same women over years, they show learning and memory can dip from premenopause into perimenopause, then recover in postmenopause. What's also good that brain imaging studies tell the same story. Brain structure and metabolism often stabilize in postmenopause. One more piece of good news from the research is that executive function, the prefrontal cortex work you rely on to lead, decide, and strategize, largely holds steady through the transition. So the skills that build your career are not the ones that are at risk. Your brain is going through a reorganization, not a decline. It's a big difference. For most women, the fog lifts, and what comes back on the other side is a brain that has adapted to run without the hormonal fluctuations it was fighting for years. How to help perimenopause brain fog naturally? Let's see. So 5 areas matter most, I think, in connection to this question. I'll go through each one briefly, just so you get a better idea. Sleep first. Fragmented sleep is one of the strongest amplifiers of brain fog. So, fixing your sleep gives you the biggest return on effort. If you only change one thing, please focus on sleep. Then move your body. Exercise isn't a magic bullet, but it reliably supports memory, attention, and mood. 3 proper workouts a week is the target. On days you can't fit a real session, 5 to 10 minutes of cardio between meetings genuinely sharpens the focus for the next hour. Then obviously eat whole foods. A Mediterranean style pattern has the strongest cognitive evidence behind it. Focus on vegetables, legumes, fatty fish, olive oil, nuts, whole grains. The underlying reason is very simple. Protein and fiber keep your blood sugar steady, and a brain running on steady fuel thinks more clearly than the one riding glucose spikes. Finally, bring down your stress load. Chronic stress and anxiety amplify every mechanism behind brain fog. Slow breathing, body scans, short guided meditation, and CBT all have evidence. Pick one and actually do it. Let me know in the comments if you want a full video on what works and why. There are really a lot of techniques that we could cover. Think about reducing the load on your brain. Use lists, use calendars, set reminders, break big tasks into smaller ones. Using these tools isn't weakness. It's how you save your mental capacity for the decisions that actually need it. So don't be afraid to use them. Does HRT help with brain fog? Well, this one is a little bit more complicated than the internet makes it sound. The honest answer? Well, large good quality studies do not show that HRT reliably improves cognition on its own. No major menopause guideline recommends HRT for brain fog or for dementia prevention. A 2023 review in Current Psychiatry Reports looking at perimenopausal cognitive problems found no large randomized trials showing estrogen therapy improves brain fog directly. And small postmenopausal trials largely show no effect on memory or overall thinking. So if you are considering HRT specifically to fix your brain fog, the direct evidence just isn't there. Well, but that's not the whole story. HRT is genuinely effective for the things that amplify brain fog. Hot flashes, night sweats, to a certain extent disrupted sleep, and mood changes. All of these independently make cognitive symptoms worse. When HRT resolves them, many women feel sharper, not because the HRT fixed the cognition directly, but because hot flashes don't interrupt their sleep or meetings. Don't start HRT expecting to fix your brain fog. Do consider it if you have other perimenopausal symptoms that are disrupting your life. Better sleep and stable mood will almost certainly help your cognition as a downstream effect. And please let me note this. I'm not giving you a medical advice. That's between you and your doctor. Does menopause brain fog go away? Let's see. For most women, yes. The fog you're experiencing now is the hardest stretch. Once you reach postmenopause, hormones stabilize and brain fog improves. Many women do say that they feel sharper and calmer in their 50s and 60s than they did in the chaotic years before when they were maybe late 30s or mid 40s. The golden years are still ahead of you. Brain fog at this stage of your career feels personal, but the biology is impersonal. Your brain is reorganizing. Your hormones are fluctuating. Your cognitive load is already so full. None of that means you're losing who you are. It means the rules have changed. And the science is finally clear enough to give you new ones. Come find the rest at tickingbiology.com. If you're experiencing brain fog and have questions I didn't cover, leave them in the comments. I'll be answering them in upcoming videos. See you next week.